You're watching SKST Radio.
Well, welcome to another episode of SKST Radio, and you are tuned in to Real Talk with Cammie, Grayson, and friends, and I have a new friend. He goes by the name of Joa Marx. How are you doing, Joa? Noah. I keep saying Joa. I don't know why, but Noah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on, Cammie. Yeah, this is super exciting. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We were just talking about you can't take stuff back. Being live, and that's just I'm goofy as all outdoors. Well, I have my popcorn ready. I'm ready to hear all about your movie. What do you got going on?
All right, cool. So yeah, we just released on December 13th on exclusively Amazon Prime and Tubi. And the film is called Dragon Eats Eagle. It is a political satire, unlike many that are probably coming out these days. It's about these two real idiot government agents in a way who are working for the political parties from the time of 2016 to 2020. And they follow absurd orders, and it's we've been getting a lot of great reviews on it. People are finding it super hysterical, and it's definitely not for at somebody who's very sensitive to some things. But yeah, that was kind of the point behind it, to be controversial, but also just to have a fun time and just kind of make fun of everybody, That's it. And
well,
it was originally
so young. How did you come up with something like this, being in the politics and things?
Okay, so I love all films, but I'm not a huge fan of politics, as many people probably aren't. But they're necessary, and you do need them in some facets. But to make fun of them is super fun. So the financier of the film came to me like way before he was even the financier. He was just a family friend and an eccentric fellow, and he was like, "Oh, you should make a film about COVID and Trump and Hillary Clinton, all that stuff." And I was like, it's just low hanging fruit. I don't really want to do that. I was busy writing like a sci-fi story, right?
Right.
But then I was watching a film called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, with Gary Oldman and Tim Roth, and I figured that it wouldn't be low hanging fruit if it was just the landscape of the American politic, politic landscape. But if it was about these two guys who are just in the middle of this grandiose play going on, which Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are these two guys in the play of Hamlet who are just on the side and just kind of wander and talk about things. I was like, now that's kind of interesting. So I hit the books. I started researching. I pitched the producer who became the financier of the film, the idea. He loved it. And we just started casting, and it was fun. We shot for about 12 weeks, and that's kind of just how it came together. A lot of research just went into it. I wasn't so learned of politics to begin with, but I've kind of become not a connoisseur, but I enjoy learning now about history and government, and also like economic history as well.
Got you. So how did you get started?
So when I was super young, my dad owned a movie theater in Morristown, New Jersey.
Okay.
So Morristown, New Jersey, it was called the Rialto. And I used to skip school all the time and go with him to work. His office was above the cinema. And I would basically go from adventure to comedy to drama to science fiction to anything. And so I kind of became a person from film. So time went on. I started making music just because I always loved the creative process. I got like guitars here.
I see that.
But also I like to produce music as well. A lot of the films I do, I like to produce like a lot of the sounds and do a lot of the musical elements of it. And then I went to college, University of Maryland. Graduated with a finance degree because I was ignorant and naive enough to think that I know everything about movies. Why do I need to spend money to go to college to learn more about it?
Right.
I was wrong, but I did two films after that, like right after college, feature films called My Brothers and Friends, Air, and actually My Frequency. I've done 3. And then those I consider my film school, where like I learned everything I needed to, while some of them are on the rougher side. There's also a lot of learning that happened on my end throughout them. And then finally I took everything I learned and put them into this one. And this is like my first real debut film, I feel like. And it's cool.
Oh, wow.
That's my story.
That is so cool. So tell me, how were you able to select the stars to be in the film? Because the guys are, I mean, they're quirky. I'm like, how did you get these guys?
It is so it was a short casting process. I I knew one of the main guys, Charlie Ferrara, actually no, I didn't meet him in college. I met him from a friend from college, but he also went to University of Maryland, and that's where we had a kind of a mutual friendship there. And he basically, we auditioned a little bit. We talked about the role, and he just had such a quirky attitude to him about it, where I was like, all right, you're great. Now we have to find you a counterpart. And the director of photography, her name is Yulia Nestorova, really tremendous with a camera, like knows every single thing about it. I learned so much from her. Her husband plays Tucker, Harrison Marx, and we first met. I had her on board before any of the cast, and she says, my boyfriend at the time, my husband, now is like really an excellent actor. Like, you should look. And obviously a lot of people want to, plug their, significant others, or someone has this. So I was like, sure, of course I'll look. But he was the real deal. And his name is Harrison Marx. My name is Noah Marx, but we're actually not related.
Relation. Okay.
No relation. And so I thought that was a fate, that was a little bit of fate. And we found the main two. And the older actors as well was a longer process, because it was I don't know, it was all about like attitude, I guess, towards it. And it all came together pretty nicely.
Oh, that's so cool. So cool. Now the movie came out December 13th. Have you guys been getting good reviews, or what's so exciting about the movie coming out?
Yeah, so we're definitely getting a lot of interesting reviews. There's always the ones that love it, and everyone, for this one in particular, because it's an independent film, but like its subject is extremely heavy in some ways. Like right at the beginning of the film, it says a tragedy by Noah Marx, instead of a film by that. And spoiler alert, like at the end is kind of a gruesome ending in a way. And so it definitely has some heavy themes, but there's some people who review it as like, this is something that needs to be watched by millions, although it's an independent film. Like people, it's upsetting that it won't be on like the biggest screens and like promoted in like certain places. And then there's other people who are like, this is insensitive, this is wrong, and all that stuff.
Gosh.
Too. So we go both ways, but by the way, I knew it was going to be polarizing, but it was all about just exposure, because I believe in some of the messages in it. Even though it doesn't really have a message for me, it just kind of creates meaning through like the different ideologies or political ideologies that certain countries have. And
wow. Cool. So, okay, are you touring the movie at all?
So we were going to just do a premiere in LA and New York. But actually, when I was talking to my PR company and like the distributor, you work with the business model. Like sometimes you don't need those things in certain ways. So no, I decided to use all of the funds that we had for, exposure and putting it out into the world, because, I hear stories, and I've done this before, where like I would put aside some of the budget to have like, like a happy party, celebration party. Yeah. And for this one, I was so neurotic with it that I was like, I don't need to celebrate. My work's not done. It's time, we're promoting it out the wazoo. You did the work, like, you did the work. We had our own, celebration as cast members. Sometimes we would go out, get food and, get some drinks. And so I was like, no, we're not doing a celebration thing. We're not going to do a premiere. We're going to send it to everyone we can, put all budgetary funds into getting it out into the world. And so that was kind of my executive decision, and we'll see if it works out. Who knows? It's a new process of it.
So now that the COVID stature has been lifted a little bit, did that help you a whole lot? Or did you film during COVID? How did that work out?
Well, we filmed smack dead in the middle of it. I got it right before filming and right after filming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was like in the middle, but we were all safe. And as we like filmed together, we were more of like a community, like a family in a way. So like, if you didn't see the person or like your roommate or your family at home, then you would see us. So there wasn't, once we got into like a comfortable rhythm, there was no kind of fear about the COVID thing amongst the cast and crew.
Wow. So Noah, what's next for you?
Next, it's me and two writing partners right now who are living in Bulgaria. I met them very recently, but I love their work, and we're going to be. I mean, I already started writing it, but we're bringing them in because I know my flaws of writing. I'm good like conceptually, but when it comes down to like Cammy and Noah are talking and describing things, I write like a 4-year-old. So I need somebody to be. I need somebody. I know my limitations, right? So I got to delegate some things. Jack of all trades, master of none. And so we're working on a science fiction thriller, and that's something I've always wanted to do. And one I've been hypothesizing for like a very long time now. So I'm ready to up the level and just hit it. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so Noah, tell people how they can see the movie.
Sure, absolutely. It is right now exclusively on Tubi, which is all free, and Amazon Prime. And if you want to like buy it, I think it's like $3.99 or rent it $1.99. But listen, I love Tubi. I've been watching Tubi a ton ever since we got picked up by Tubi.
Yeah, I look at it too.
It's all free. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's where you get it. And if you want to find me on YouTube and on Instagram is at Noah Marx Creative.
Right.
No, Noah's Ark Creative. Sorry, it's not even that creative because it's Noah's Ark.
Okay. All right, Noah. So we got you here. I'm so excited to be able to have the opportunity to see the movie. It was great. Like you said, the politics. I'm not really into the politics as much, but the storyline and the guys are funny. It's just it makes you want to stay engaged. So, that's the part that kept me going.
Yeah,
so,
and also if one's not like that, like it, because there's a lot of like historical like references that they throw in. So like if somebody's not knowing like all of them, like sure, there's stuff that'll go under the rug and some people miss them, and that was like I knew that would happen too. Because I did like a ton of research for it, like things that I was like, no one's gonna know what that is, but for the one person who does, we'll throw it in there. Yeah, but the guys are definitely the heart of the film. I would say is the I call them the nincompoops.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. It's good. So, if you could give some words of wisdom to people who are trying to get where you are, finally getting a good movie under your belt, getting up there, climbing that ladder, what advice would you give them?
I mean, it's a team sport. I would say it just gets so dark.
It did. It got darker.
It's a team sport. And so if you, like I just said before, I know my limitations, and it came from me a long time. Somebody who always thought, oh, I'm, the most creative person who walks into a room. I got this. If you start to understand your limitations and realize that you're not, and you believe it to not just be you, but a team sport, and, treat people with like, the respect as in their creative fields as you do. And you have like, and then you build such a rapport in a way that you become like an unstoppable chain. And you're only as weak, you're only as strong as your weakest link in that way. So I would say just surround yourself, or try to surround yourself with people who know things in other aspects that you don't, and be able and have like a synchronized relationship in a way where like you can learn, teach, and inspire them, as well as them teach and you can learn from and have them inspire you. So build your team, build a good team.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
It's hard to do things alone.
Yeah.
And it's more fun to do things with others.
Well, let me ask you this. With all the things that's going on in society, what do you think has affected you the most?
Like right now?
Yeah.
Currently? It could be anything.
Yeah.
I find I'm really a big, even though I need to have it for kind of like business purposes, social media. I don't see a lot of greatness in social media. There are great things it can be used for. Obviously, entertainment, learning, listening to, podcasts are amazing, all that stuff. But when it comes down to like the idiosyncratic individual social media where, post like certain things, or and in relation to art as well, where's the fine line between, the content and the art? So the thing that, and it's not a bad thing either. It's just something to question. And I'm trying to learn from myself that like, where is the line for me where like, am I being negatively influenced by watching so many others, or should I be more particular and like, okay, like I'm gonna stick to like my like 5 podcasts, my 5 like entertainment, like I'm gonna have Cami, I'm gonna, you know, like stuff like that. It's hard to put limitations on the amount you consume from social media, and I think it affects me negatively. I really do. I think that I become more self judgmental in a way. I think I question myself a lot more, and that leads to kind of lack of confidence. I think that leads to just a lot of things that it's not worth it. Yeah, sure, it's nice to be able to, you know, DM somebody who like you admire, or DM somebody who you haven't spoken to in a while. Be like, hey, like, how are you? Just saw you did this. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
But is it worth this kind of like the self-sabotage of it? I don't know. But so that's affected me, especially becoming more in tune to social media because of movie stuff and whatever.
Right. And I find that, you know, I see people post things like, you know, I'm not talking about you, you know, whatever I said in my post, if you feel like this was about you, you know, just things like that, where people read into stuff that really, you know, it's my post or it's his post. It really might not have anything to do with me, you know, unless you're 100% guilty and know it. You know, but people get so emotional behind it, and I'm looking at people's posts and I'm going, wow, did he really have to get on there and say that? You know,
Yeah.
it's just kind of crazy.
It's accessible. It's like too accessible to express opinions in a way, and not saying all opinions are bad, but you know, for if in a way, like we aren't like prepared for the world we've built in a way. We're like, you know, if I have something to say and like I'm gonna, you know, say it right now, like in the moment, that might be great. But you know, can you think about it? Also, another thing, by the way, with the whole social media thing is like, you know, obviously there's cancel culture, and a lot of things in cancel culture are warranted. You know, sometimes people say some terrible things, and you gotta, you know, you gotta put them to the side. But the thing is that when people are saying, but they're so influential and they're influencing this and that, I find it almost annoying to hear that when like if I loved Kanye West, right? With all my heart. I loved it. I grew up on Kanye, all that. You know, he said this stuff, you know, recently. And so they're like, oh, but he has to stop like saying, obviously he has to stop saying this stuff. But for me, they're like, aren't you influenced by what he's saying? I'm like, no, because I'm an individual. Like, I know what he's saying is wrong. I have the critical thinking ability to know that's wrong, still be grateful in the music that he inspired me by, but I am not influenced by what he's saying now. And so I think there's like a half zombie mindset in a way, where some people believe that someone else is being influenced just because they're an influential person. I think you got to give people some more individual gusto. Like, this person, an individual. I know he's not.
Yeah, but people have a right to their own opinion. You know, people have right to the way they think, and so who are we to you know, if we don't agree with it, we don't have to agree with it. You know, we have that right.
Yeah.
So I get it.
And the thing is, going on that too, is like, if we don't agree and like we want to avoid it, the bad part about social media is that maybe it's hard to avoid. If something gets viral or something is always in your face, it's hard to avoid. And then you might get triggered by something, because at a certain point, it's like, when is it enough? So I don't know. But the long answer to, I guess, what we both agree on is social media is a weird line between good and bad. And I think it's more bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's my long answer.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to hold you any longer, Noah. Thank you so much for being on the show. We are here if you need us. You know, feel free to reach out if you need us to help for us to help get movies out there. Whenever you got a next project, feel free to hit me up.
Sure.
We're friends now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cami. Yes, we're friends now. I'm super it was super fun to come on. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the platform, and I'll see you on social media. Okay, sounds good. Okay, guys, until next week, right here, SKST Radio, baby.